President will outline 5 areas his team is focused on to get more Americans vaccinated. 1, targeted community-by-community, door-to-door outreach to get remaining Americans vaccinated by ensuring they have the information they need.
Here's what he had to say yesterday that he has since begun to reel back in. First, his comments.
The federal government has had to spend trillions of dollars to try to keep Americans alive during this pandemic, so it is absolutely the government's business. We want to give people a sense that they have the freedom to choose, but we hope they choose to live. We hope people make the right choices. We want them to have the right information, but we are America. We try to give people as much freedom and choice as possible, but clearly when over 600,000 Americans have died, the best choice is to get vaccinated.
What everyone hears there, Governor, is him saying we want to give people the sense that they have the freedom to choose, and the government definitely has the right to know whether or not you are vaccinated. What's your reaction?
Well, listen, I think that's the wrong approach, especially right now in the pandemic with mixed messages that have been coming out of Washington lately on a lot of things, including the vaccines. You know, I think the people that haven't gotten vaccinated just don't have a lot of trust in the government, and I certainly understand that. What I've been telling people is we don't need a government mandate. We need people to talk to your doctor, talk to the folks at your hospital, ask them, you know, of COVID patients that are coming in now, are they vaccinated or not? Do you think the vaccine is helping? Ask your doctor that. Ask your local pharmacy that. Ask your family members that have been vaccinated, or your faith leaders or other people. We don't need a tyrant in government that's going to go around and do this. That scares people. I think it personally runs them off from trusting the vaccine. So that's my message back to him.
Especially when he changes his tune. Originally saying it's absolutely the government's business. And then he tweeted out later in the day, yesterday afternoon, some comments I made today are being taken wildly out of context. To be clear, government has no database tracking who is vaccinated. We're encouraging people to step up to protect themselves and others by getting vaccinated. It's the best way to save lives and end this pandemic. Is that why you think people don't trust the government? They say one thing, we know what they actually mean, but then they correct it later?
Oh, no doubt about it. Lots of mixed messages out there. We're not going to be tracking anybody in the state of Georgia. You know, my whole family's been vaccinated. I feel very comfortable with that, but that's an individual choice, especially for the people that are left that have not been vaccinated. They've got to get comfortable making that healthcare decision for themselves. And I believe that they can do that if they'll simply take a few minutes and talk to their medical professionals.
Right. I don't start giving medical advice all of a sudden. I would say I got vaccinated and you could take for that what you want. It's up to you. I might choose to go cliff diving. I don't want people to tell me I can't. Meanwhile, Dr. Jonathan Reiner has a different take on that, Governor. Listen to this.
I do think it's time to start mandating vaccines. And I think that private industry and private organizations will do that. 75 million adults have chosen not to get vaccinated, and that choice has consequences. Now, we can't force you to take a jab in the arm, but there are many jobs, perhaps, that can prevent you from working if you decide not to get vaccinated.
You comfortable with that?
No, listen, that's a decision that I believe individuals need to make, private employers need to make. I don't always agree with those decisions, but I've always been consistent. We don't need the government mandating these things on a person or a private business. I've been a small business owner for 35 years. I don't want the government telling me, you know, whether I need to vaccinate my employees or not. I just don't think we need to be in that business. I think if you see that happen, you're going to see people revolt, you know, like they've been doing on airplanes on whether to wear a mask now or not, and people are fighting over that. I can't imagine what it would be like if we start doing something like that with vaccines.
What if they start making K through 12 get vaccinated? Yeah. There's going to be a war there.
I hope you'll forgive me for a little bit of a wind-up here, but, Governor, I've been watching this documentary on one of the most influential people of the 20th century, Edward Bernays. He's kind of the godfather of propaganda and PR. And it's how you control people's choices through manipulation, through propaganda. This vaccine effort is part of that push to control what choices we make. It's also how you push a message. Vice President Kamala Harris suggests the Democrats are going to invest $25 million in painting Republican laws like your Georgia law to increase voter integrity as voter suppression. This is a full-on push, a propaganda push, and you know this very well because it's been somewhat successful, a push to characterize your law. I want you to listen to Vice President Kamala Harris very quickly on this new push.
In 2020, you were heard, America. You were heard loud and clear. But there is another side to this story. So far this year, 17 state legislatures have enacted 28 new laws that will make it harder for Americans to vote. These bills, now, be clear about enacted, these bills have already become law. They are now on the books. This all is designed, I believe, to make it harder for you to vote so that you don't vote.
So make it harder for you to vote, call it voter suppression, call it racist. Governor, you're in a propaganda war. How do you win this?
Hey, we got to fight like hell. That's what I've been telling people. We have the truth on our side. Now the vice president's lying like the president has been about Georgia's law. We actually add the amount of days that people can vote early on the weekends in the state of Georgia. We've got many more opportunities for people to vote early than President Biden's own state of Delaware and a lot of other states where the Democrats are in control. They're just not being truthful to people. And listen, this is just part of their playbook. Their legislation failed at Congress to have a federal takeover of elections, which is unconstitutional. Now they have the Department of Justice when we have, violent crime, killings in major cities all over the country, a crisis at the border. And the fight they're picking is suing us over our Elections Integrity Act. And they realize now after the Arizona ruling, that's not going to work. So now they're moving to the Democratic Party at the national level, trying to spend $25 million to cancel us. But my message is, look, we're going to stand up and fight. We have the truth on our side, but you need to be aware. They're going to try to cancel you. They're going to try to boycott your business, move your ball game, just like they did the All-Star game in Georgia. They're going to come after your way of life. This isn't a fight just in Georgia. This is a nationwide fight. It is one worth fighting, and that is what I'm going to continue to do.
And the United States and the last administration made an agreement that with the Taliban to remove all our forces by May 1 of this year. That's what I inherited. That agreement was the reason the Taliban had ceased major attacks against U.S. forces. If in April I had instead announced that the United States was going back on that agreement made by the last administration, the United States and allied forces would remain in Afghanistan for the foreseeable future, the Taliban would have again begun to target our forces. 4th of July. I'm concerned that you guys are asking me questions that I'll answer next week, but this is a holiday weekend. I'm going to celebrate it. There's great things happening.